Before we start the carving proper, there's a very important stage in which we pause and have a think and try and visualize what's going on and how things are connected. So I've marked a couple of points here, 3 points, which are high spots. Now a high spot is on the original surface of the wood from which we're going to take wood away, and they're going to be up in front, pointing and in the viewer's face. So this is the highest point here from which wood will take away. So we mark any of those that we think, and there are obviously 2 here, the big petals. So think about the high spots in any carving. Then the other thing we can think about is, what is the lowest spot? In other words, how far back are we going to go? Well, this is in here, at the back of this carving here, is the background, the virtual background. So we can go right the way back to where the wood ends on the other side. And where would that be? Well, I think we can see that this one here would be a very low spot. That is certainly going to go right back. So this leaf here curls right back and all this wood will be taken away. And we can see down in here, this is probably a very low spot here. And this one's coming away. So identify a couple of points that are high and low, and then think about the ones in the middle. For example, here these stamens, where are they going to be? Well, they're not going to be up here, but they're not going to be right at the back. So they're going to be somewhere in the middle. And all this is going to come down into this section here. There's a stem here, quite a strong stem. Well, that's got to be behind this one. So another point is to think about where these lines go across. So when we carve this, we want to make sure that this line follows through so the petal goes behind neatly. Also checking here, there's a little bit here that's actually connected there, and so on. There's a little bit here that's connected to that one. So make sure we know what these lines mean. So we've thought about middle areas, high areas, low areas, thinking about how, and try and see it, try and get your hand and sort of think, well, that's going to go around there, that's going to go behind there, this sort of thing. It's really useful to be able to do that before we start carving. Then when you've got a fairly good picture in the mind, we can put it down and start taking away some wood. I'm going to start by removing wood from one of the high spots. I've chosen this petal here, and what I'm going to be doing is rounding it over like this to the frame, a little bit over here. So there's quite a bit of an area here that's going to be on the surface, not just a little point. So off I go. So the gouge, even as I'm using it, I'm thinking about that shape going over. Yeah, I'm not going in a straight line, dipping down. And when you come down here, make sure you don't stab into the background here. I'm not going to bother smoothing this surface at this stage with a flat gouge. I'm just using this medium one, and as I said, placing the bottom of the cuts, where I want the surface to be. A little ginge around here. Now I'm deciding that I'm going to leave this edge quite high. I think this whole thing should be high, so just a little bit over there. Keep this high. So coming round here. And here is a separation between the back, this third petal going that way, and this one here. So I'm just going to separate that off with the V tool. And also you can see this is the inside edge here. So again, I'm going to separate that off quite generously, look. Okay, so what this means is I can start taking this one down. Of course this is going to be lower, but let's just get some of this away. This is heading right over to the back. Might need my mallet on this one. So this is curving over, so I can start feeling for that edge a little bit. Put this one back in a little way, and then just, you've got your drawing, so you can always redraw things, but remember this is a drawing and it's not the same as a three-dimensional carving. So we're going to push this one back and we'll be creeping up here, and then at the same time, or very quickly afterwards, we'll take wood away from here. So what this is the underside of that petal. This is quite a complicated bit. I need to sort some of this out. Let's go down here a little bit. So the inside of this petal runs into this stem here, behind this leaf. So we can separate out the leaf here. And there's a little bud here, so we can do something with that for the moment. Little bits like here and here, these are details we'll put in way at the end. At the moment we're just getting the main form in. So I can take all the way down here. And this is rounded over, so I can start taking wood away from here as well. I'm going to get annoyed with the camera here, but I prefer to go across the grain at this stage with this first pass, this bosting in. So this is going to be rounded over here. See, that's coming. That can't be there, that's got to be back there. So this is a rounded over stem. So rounding over this, we're going to work that into there, and then this part, this definitely will be behind there, down there, so make sure that's down there, separating that off. And then up here, so we need to do a bit more work on that, but I think you can see what I'm doing. I'm rounding that over, separating these bits out. Then up here, I'm going to separate the edge of this petal from the stamen, so that's now in front, and in fact of course goes behind this one here. So this is in front, this little leaf here that needs putting an edge on. Here's the edge of the petal coming over. The stamens are here, and of course they're not as high as this, they've got to go back, and then this is behind. So we can start thinking about this going behind them. And what's nice, again, from the drawing, you can put these back in at any time, like here, whatever. So feel free to redraw, and don't go too far before you redraw, and then you'll keep a sense of the whole thing. I can see there's lots of wood to come back here because we're that deep just there. And then this, if you remember, this bit is an edge and this is low, so I can just give myself a little line to work to, and we might as well do that. So we know all this is back, so let's start taking this back. We're getting that going, and here's the back of that coming over here. The important thing with this first pass is not to go into detail or too much, because we're going to go over again and refine it. So again, so we know this is coming behind here. We know this is behind here. So we're starting to see that this is behind that, and that's behind that, and so on. So here again is another stem, and this is behind. Now this won't be here, this might well be back there, but for the moment, let's just focus on this stem. And there's some of it going behind here. I'm going to leave this bud here quite proud, so coming right forward. So I'm not going to take wood away from there at the moment. I'm just going to bring it down to here. And this, of course, is coming back here. And we can round this one over. You notice how the grain is short here, and it very easily snaps off. So in the design, what we want to do is when we come to the edge, make sure that comes at curves a little bit like this. Doesn't come into a swoop that way. It's all right for the moment, but I'm going to make sure that is strong grain, it won't come off. Now this is certainly not the right height, I think, but all will be revealed later. And remember that some of this won't go down to the back, some of this is going to be undercut, so there'll be whole bits of wood missing down the bottom here. So think about the shape from the front. Okay, so we're getting, so that I know this one comes over here like this. So I'll put that one back in. So then we'll start moving, leave that to see what's going on, start moving up to here. And in fact, I probably will go up to the main one, the main petal up the top here next, because I'm going to join that in from both ends. Okay, so again, I think this is going to be the high edge here. So I'm not going to take wood along there. And then I think it's going to round over here, and this is, let's make sure I've got this right. So here is this petal here. So it's a little confusing there, so let me just make sure. This is the edge of the petal here. That one is the one behind, and the petal comes round here. That and dips below there, and then there's a leaf here that joins into that stem. So come this way this time. So this has got to go behind that. So let's make some rows into there. So what this means is, because this is higher than that, this line can come back. So this line is going to be sinking and pick up all that bit on the other side, right down, right at the back. So think about how this is. What this stem can't do is buckle. So we have to get a smooth line running, from, you see how the grain's picking up? That's why I work across the grain normally. So there'll be a smooth line from here to wherever we decide that ends up. And then these on the either side, we can lower and try and keep that one a bit high. This edge is high, but there's a big dip in here which we will have to excavate. So switching to a narrow gouge. So that's the inside of that edge of that petal. Now this is far behind, so I'll take some of that off. and I'll need to redraw that obviously. Then coming to this stamen here, let's separate that out, and that goes behind this one, this petal here, sorry, this leaf here. So I might as well do the other side. Now this is far too high above, but we have this opportunity to make things pop out so we don't automatically keep things flat. So this one is coming around behind here. And then on this side, well, we can see here we have a big, this is right far back, but we do have this area here. So for the moment, I'm just going to get those stamens as a block, really, without separating all that as detail. So this is high, coming all the way round. So I'm now thinking about that edge first. So once I've got an idea of the edge, I can start removing wood from the middle here, which is inside that edge there. Yeah. And I'm going to draw that back in all the way. So that's the outside edge, which will curve this way. Then all this is pulled right back. That'd be an idea for me to get a bit of a deeper gouge on that, I think. Okay, that'll do for the moment. Now, there's no way that this part here, which is the original surface of the wood, can be there. That has to be further back. And these have to be further. For this to pop forward, this has to be back. So I know this is going to come down here, like that. And I need to hang on to my drawing, make sure I've got my drawing, because what I'm going to do now is actually drop all that back and that back. I'm not, for me to get this to run through, this can't be here like this. So I'm going to perhaps leave this edge a little bit higher, but take this off. And in fact, leaving those will help me redraw it. And take this whole thing back here. All of this. Quite dramatic, but logic tells me it can't be here. Same here. And you can see how everything is relative out to everything else. As I take this bit back, then this petal here must come back. See, so it's a matter of going around and adjusting one part, and then from that adjusting another. So I'll take it a little bit at a time, see what it looks like. I think this has got to come all the way back like this. And as I do that, this edge comes forward. Keep that clean. Yes, I'm going down to about half the depth that was to begin with. Half the depth between this surface and the background of the frame. That'll do for now. And get that across. When I've done this, I need to get my picture and redraw it. But I know we're definitely heading down there. Okay, let me redraw this now, just before I go too far. I thought it was easier for you to see what's going on if I put it upright like this. I've taken some tracing from my original drawing, and I've been able to redraw some of the parts that I cut off. So this is the end of a pretty good first pass. What you see is like things separated, so I have a sense of the stem coming here, a leaf there, bud there, all these various bits separated. They're not deep enough. These are still, this is, for example, here, the full thickness. This is bellying out here. So there's lots of things that are not right, but I can see where everything is, and you can see the sort of depth that's going on. So the next stage is to take a second pass over the whole thing and start pushing some of these shapes even further, making full use of that 3 dimensions that we have.